What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So with the partner showcase happening today, there's a lot of discussion around third-party offerings for Nintendo, but it seems like maybe one first-party offering, certainly from a franchise for first-party, may have leaked out a bit earlier that a new game is happening in 2026, and we'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about next generation for Xbox once again, as the other day it was AMD who was talking from the hardware side. Seems like another company is chiming in now on the software side, especially when it comes to the OS and the ecosystem. And we'll also be going over Overwatch, which it's a weird situation that's happening there. While they gave a new update, they also decided to change the title and go backwards. That, to me, still shows a lot of the issues right now with live service games. All of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with Nioh 3, which is out this week. And I've been looking at it because I played the demo, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Even though there's some other stuff happening and coming out at the same time that's going to be kind of tough to keep up with. Along with it, we did get at least reviews. You can see over on Metacritic, currently sitting at an 86, that's on the PlayStation 5, and an 84 on PC. There are actually many reviews. There were 76 on the PS5 at the time of this recording and 27 on the PC. So just over 100 reviews for the game. It coming in though at an 86 on the PlayStation 5, and the demo itself, that's, I'd say, lengthy enough. It's like a couple of hours, and I've played it, and I do like the combat style, specifically changing between samurai and ninja and going back and forth with different play styles, but also the game kind of pushing you in the direction of changing mid-battle as things are happening, as attacks are happening. Certain ones, you change between samurai or ninja and get a nice advantage on maybe the bigger enemy that you're fighting. So I always do this with Nioh games. I look at them, I play them a bit, and it's fun, and then I kind of fall out of it, and I'll probably end up doing the same thing with Nioh 3. But the demo did grab me, so I'll probably give it a shot. It's just Dragon Quest VII is there at the same time, and that's a 70-hour RPG, so it's getting tough out there. First world problems, just too many games to play. Also, we did get an update around Metroid Prime 4 with the sales, as there were some concerns because it didn't get reported by Nintendo, which means the two different SKUs separately weren't able to reach the 1 million mark. But what happens if those are combined? We got the answer. This we can see from Stephen Totillo over on the game file, saying, following some consternation about neither the Switch nor Switch 2 versions of Metroid Prime 4 making Nintendo's million seller list for the period ending December 31st, a Nintendo rep told to me today that combined sales of these two versions have in fact passed 1 million copies. Okay, so in less than a month, about 28 days or so, it managed to reach at least 1 million copies between both versions. And I mean, I know Nintendo is doing this thing where they're reporting in, I'd say, even kind of weird ways, because they're trying to cover all their bases. Switch 1 version, Switch 2, the upgrade path for the Switch 1 and the Switch. They're trying to count all these things in different ways. And I mean, really, if they just combined them and said, hey, look, Switch 1, Switch 2, it's all together, and it's 1.2 million copies, yes, that would have gone over much better than nothing. Because then it's like, oh, wow, did Metroid Prime 4 do that badly? Because now we know it's not 1 million for either SKU separate, but what if it was 250,000 for one of them, you know? So we're trying to just now piece together if there will be a Metroid Prime 5. Hearing there's at least more than 1 million copies have sold in less than a month from debut is much better and does work more in favor of the idea of there indeed being a follow-up to Metroid Prime 4. Oh, and we have some good news for Forza Horizon 6. We can see shared over on their social media account. It's going to have cross-save and cross-play. So you'll be able to jump between PC and Xbox at launch, but then you'll have PlayStation 5 come into the mix. Also worth noting that they do count Steam technically as a separate platform, since they have their Windows Store version, Xbox, Steam, PlayStation 5. I mean, this is great. I do just like to see cross-save now. We've kind of covered, I think we've crossed the barrier of cross-play for the most part. Not every game has it, but like it's almost expected at times to be there. It's cross-save or cross-progression that I think is the new cross-play from 10 years ago, right? So I would like to see more games do that, because more and more games from even first-party are going multi-platform. So if you can say pick up the PlayStation 5 version later this year and all of your cars in progress are there from maybe PC or Xbox or something, and maybe you want to play on that platform to get trophies or even with friends or something there, you can do that. So I like the idea of cross progression becoming more and more of a norm going forward. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with a game from Nintendo. First party side, seems like it leaked a bit early. All right, and we've discussed this method, this avenue of leaks constantly, because it's not necessarily people who are like deep in the industry, like in development, understand the secrecy element to the whole thing. And like we see voice actors, maybe collaboration with different celebrities who just throw the information out there. Oh yeah, I've been working on this game for a while with X, Y, or Z. And then we go, oh, they probably weren't supposed to say that. Happens a lot, right? Well, now it seems that there was an update to a person's profile, and we can see this was noted over on, I believe, Weibo, and then it was reposted on multiple forums, including Fama boards. And this is for Caitlin Thorburn, who has been part of the Xenoblade franchise for a bit as a voice actor. Specifically, though, updated her profile here. This is on Spotlight, which, to my understanding, is a way to kind of credit and show different projects you've worked on in the past, or even ones you're currently working on. That way, you can just kind of have your resume, out there. Okay, but she did list Xenoblade Chronicles 2026, and the role that she says she voice acted here is Cosmos. Now, you would then relate Cosmos to Xenosaga, but also Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because Cosmos was a hidden or special blade in that game, and it was very annoying to get because it would take many times, many rolls, we'll say, to finally get Cosmos. But still, when you did, it was an awesome thing there. But okay, couple possibilities, and that's the thing. We're now beyond. Will there be some kind of Xenoblade announcement this year? To what is the Xenoblade announcement going to be? That's like where the internet has moved to because of this update. But I was looking at Spotlight's website is not great for finding this stuff. Apparently, you have to be signed up and approved and. People are kind of running with this as, yeah, let's take the word of the person who posted over a Weibo stuff. So I guess grain of salt, but it would be shocking if there was some kind of Xenoblade announcement this year. No, not at all. So Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Definitive Edition is one thing that's come up. A Switch 2 edition. And look, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you may love the game. Man, you fired up on the Switch 2 in handheld mode. It's bad. Like, it's really bad. That is one of the games that probably needs it the most in terms of the resolution bump, because I think the Switch 2 would make that game look awesome and it would run great. I'm thinking like 4K upscaled 60 frames per second, like the whole thing. And they could even do some quality of life stuff to smooth out some of the more annoyances, I'd say, of that game and just make it a better game to play through. But it certainly could use that extra little bump from the Switch 2 and the more powerful hardware that's available to it. Now, there could also be some additional content, and maybe that's why there had to be more lines voiced for Cosmos. The other thing, and it's funny because it was technically in my my partner direct predictions, because it's done with Koei Tecmo, is a Xenoblade Warriors game, and you would have Cosmos as just a character in there, and then technically it would be a new Xenoblade game in 2026 that would call for maybe more lines with Cosmos as being just a special character, because like the Warriors games will just have a wide net that's cast in a franchise for all different characters beyond each and every like entry and stuff. You bring them all together, massive over-the-top action experience. So I'm kind of thinking it's some kind of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Definitive Edition that would get maybe like a $20 expansion on top for the Switch 2. But who knows? I guess it could be a Warriors game. It's just something to keep an eye on here as we go through the year. Not saying it's going to be a part of the partner showcase today, but certainly something to keep in mind as we head towards maybe more general big Nintendo Directs. Keep Xenoblade in the back of your mind for those. Next up, let's talk about Microsoft, their next generation Xbox, which seems to be popping up more and more in the news with some of these different reports. And Epic Games. So the thing with the next generation Xbox, as to be believed, it's going to be a PC. And it's going to allow different storefronts, and the Epic Game Store would be one of them, we figure. And there is, I think, an underlying benefit that would work really well for Microsoft's next console. But first, let's take a look. This is over on Windows Central, and this was an entire write-up that was done there, and they also talked to Epic Game Store VP and GM Steve Allison. They say spending on third-party games was up 57%, hitting $400 million last year for Epic, despite the fact the industry overall is in a bit of a tough spot. So Epic Game Store is quietly growing, I guess we could say. They say we bring in like 10 million new players a year through the program. This is in reference to their free games that they give away, and they consistently give away. And they even say it's very consistent. It's the best customer acquisition spend you can ever make from a dollars per new user standpoint. It's really important for our players. I would never want to see us rug pull it away from people. It's kind of part of our identity, and they're not wrong. I mean, look, there are many people who have probably never bought anything on Epic Game Store. They've only ever used the app to claim free games, but in their mind, that's user acquisition. We're trying to get more people in the door, and it is an uphill battle against Steam, who, while they don't do things like give away new games, they do have a very, very robust launcher and just PC environment that people default to. So you have to do some crazy over-the-top stuff like just give free games away. And the interesting thing here, of course, it would then be tied to Xbox. So this part of Windows Central's write-up saying, on Xbox, Epic is also aware of the rumors. The next Xbox is a PC in essence, and thusly will feature Steam, GOG, and indeed, any PC store you want to install. Saying, quote, we've been talking about a bunch of these things. We've been talking to the folks at Microsoft. If they do follow through with allowing Steam and the Epic Game Store on the next generation of Xbox console hardware, we will be there. I'm fairly certain that'll require us to build an app that functions there. They also mentioned like they're going to they're going to like rebuild the Epic Game Store application completely. Kind of necessary, I feel. Like they go into the space and then have a shopping cart even. It's like, oh, that's strange. And then you think of Steam, who's doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and we're just trying to get the basics together for the Epic Game Store. So the fact that they probably see the growth potential with something like a store like that, I mean, they say $400 million, right, coming in there, 57% growth. And then people still look at Epic Game Store as that free app that you load up to claim free games. That's kind of it. But now think about it. If it's on Xbox and you do download the app because you are just getting free games through it, I mean, if it's easy enough to link, say, your Xbox account on Windows that's all set up on your Xbox, next generation Xbox console, and you're only firing up Epic Game Store to claim the games, not necessarily to play them, because it launches Epic Game Store in the background, all you see are icons of the games on your main menu, you might be using Epic Game Store more than you think then. And if that happens and you're like, oh wow, this is pretty cool. Who has the best deals at this time because I'm using the Xbox and Steam appears the same as Epic Game Store? Maybe they have something there if they can be available at launch, and maybe they'll do just giveaways for, I don't know, people on Xbox, or there's, I'm sure, some things they can work with Microsoft on, but it seems like they're interested. They're talking with Microsoft, and I'm still curious how Microsoft and Xbox are going to pull this whole thing off. But I will say I'm getting more and more interested as we go along, and it's becoming more and more of a reality. Maybe holiday 2027, but we'll see in a year or so maybe what Microsoft has in store, unless they want to let us in on it maybe a bit earlier, say at the end of the year for the big Xbox 25th anniversary. Next up, let's talk about Overwatch, because they had an entire new Overwatch like spotlight. They put out a video detailing the future for the game, and you notice I'm saying Overwatch. You're probably thinking, well, Overwatch 2, right? That's the one that people are playing. They were playing Overwatch 2, and this is kind of an issue I still think with live services when it comes to trying to make a sequel for it, but let's take a look at the spotlight and some of the stuff they had to share. Okay, starting at the top, they have a season, Reign of Talon. This is the first season. Conquest starts February 10th, all right? So next week. 10 new heroes will be released throughout the year, but the first 5 heroes will be for Season 1. They have Domina, Emery, Mizuki, Enron, and Jetpack Cat. To my understanding, Jetpack Cat was a highly requested character. All right, so there you go. People seem pretty happy with at least some of the content and the selection of heroes and stuff that have been announced. Also, a Switch 2 version will be released alongside of Season 2. So we'll see more about that one, I guess, later on this year. There is a big push for esports with OWCS and the Overwatch World Cup. But the big headline is that they are dropping the 2. It is no longer called Overwatch 2. It is now known once again as Overwatch. Yeah, so people are like making fun of that, and yeah, it's fine. It's such a weird thing to go, we're making Overwatch 2. Okay, now we're going back to Overwatch 1. That aside, a lot of the content they did share here, people seem pretty happy with. It seems like they're at least giving people what they want. The Overwatch 2 debacle is just, it'll go down in history as just a very strange thing that's happened here. But it does make me think more and more about live service games and why it's so difficult for these companies that when they find success to move on from it. Or do you just keep building on that? I mean, honestly, the older platform maybe you designed way back when, could be 10 plus years ago, and you just can't let it go because you have an audience that does at least consistently tune in of 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people. So I think of things like Rainbow Six Siege and how we used to get Rainbow Six games much more frequently, and we just have had Siege for 10 years now. And it's like, well, what do you want to do? You want to go be Overwatch, then Overwatch 2, then Overwatch 1 again? It's just that it doesn't necessarily, the sequel stuff doesn't work that well with live service games necessarily, and this to me is just more proof of that. But at least for Overwatch fans, they seem happy. Seems like maybe some of this stuff is being figured out in terms of the content that they're providing, and seems like they have a nice year in front of them, starting with Season 1 again, February 10th. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a Switch 2 game that they say has been paused. Kind of feels like it's been canceled. I guess we'll find out at this time, in a couple of years even, but that's Borderlands 4 that got delayed and then kind of disappeared, fell off the face of the earth. Now we have a statement. This is from Take-Two with Variety, where they say Take-Two Interactive revealed it is pausing development on its Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Borderlands 4 in its latest quarterly earnings results Tuesday. This is from a Take-Two spokesperson, Alan Lewis, talking with Variety, saying, quote, "We made the difficult decision to pause development on that SKU. Our focus continues to be delivering quality post-launch content for players on the ongoing improvements to optimize the game. We're continuing to collaborate closely with our friends at Nintendo. We have PGA Tour 2K25 coming out and WWE 2K26 for Switch 2, and we're incredibly excited about bringing more of our titles to that platform in the future." So all I can really think about looking at Borderlands 4, we saw it in action at some of these events. Off-screen footage mostly. They didn't seem like they really wanted people to plug in the capture card, and you kind of saw why when you were looking at that footage of people who had their cell phones out while someone was playing. It was rough. And look, even I was playing it on the PS5 Pro. It's gotten better, still rough. All right, and it's Unreal Engine 5, it's kind of the open world they tried to craft. It hasn't been the smoothest experience. So then you think, okay, let's get it on the Switch 2, a new platform. Haven't had as much time to develop on as they have on PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series, even on PC. And you kind of see the results. I mean, it was in like the 20s in terms of frame rate, bad stuttering, and they ended up delaying, and probably for the best. If that game came out in that condition, it would have been ugly. So while it is a shame that they have paused, and I don't know if they're even going to go back to it, but it'd be nice if they did. But it could have been a lot worse in terms of the release, that they were taking, $70 plus, depending on the collector's edition for it. So there we have it, Borderlands 4. Not only paused, but again, I think kind of left behind at this point, them looking towards some of their other releases, things like WWE. But there was this thing going around that maybe they paused development so they could work on GTA 6 for the Switch 2. And I don't really know how that would work, because Gearbox is the one who would be working on Borderlands. I don't think Rockstar would be like, "Oh, you guys gotta pause Borderlands 4 on the Switch 2. We need you guys over here," despite you not being able to get Borderlands 4 apparently working well on the Switch 2 for release, and help us work on a game that I'm sure is just much more intricate with GTA 6. Gotta get Gearbox over here. It's like, it doesn't line up, and no, that's probably not what's going on here. And before we go to the comments of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, will Microsoft show up in Nintendo's partner showcase tomorrow? Final prediction on this one. Let's see, 64% say yes, 36% say no. So Microsoft casts a very wide net. Call of Duty could show up there, and that's Activision and Blizzard. You go, oh, well, wait, actually, yeah, that is Microsoft. Okay. Or maybe Sea of Thieves. That makes sense. Maybe you see something come out of Bethesda. Well, that's Microsoft. That's the thing right now. Microsoft, just by happenstance of all the studios and publishers they've bought, is the biggest publisher in gaming. So, yeah, it's likely that Microsoft shows up in some capacity. It's just, how far do they go with it? Will Halo show up? That would be pretty awesome, but I guess we'll see here in, well, an hour after this video goes live. I will be doing a whole like breakdown for it, by the way. So we're gonna reaction after it goes up, just some of my immediate thoughts on what we see. Then we'll finish up with the comments of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Crusader, who says, I do not want my console talking to me. Hey, like the podcast thing is just think about if you play Splatoon, do you know how you start that game up and they have a whole sit down with you and they're kind of going over some of the updates, and it's sort of like that, but at more system level. Maybe you haven't turned your system on in a while and it spends 5 minutes catching you up on different things that are happening, but in more of a fun way where they use characters from a recent game they're more familiar with. No, the thing I'd be more concerned about is if the next generation or even the generation after that, we'll talk PS7 at this point, is if agentic AI gets more involved and you have an actual AI assistant that is crafted specifically to you, and then your system does actually talk to you and it does things for you that you don't necessarily want it to. Like, so let's say you're having a really hard time in a game and you're frustrated and you're just grinding experience. You're like, no, you know what? I'm going to brute force this. I'm going to level up. It's going to take me a few days. And when you're sleeping, your agentic AI goes, I'm going to help them out by spending $20 off of their credit card on the experience boosters. I'm going to apply it the next time they start it up. And you're going to start up, you're like, wow, this is great. And then you realize what happened. It's like, oh, I spent $20 for this. Imagine the embarrassing call then where you got to make the Sony's customer service to explain how your agentic AI went rogue and just started buying things on the microtransaction store. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you wanted to hear more about some of my predictions and thoughts about what could be at the Nintendo Direct today. Or if the Direct's passed, you can take a look at the Steam Machine update that Valve gave yesterday. I'll leave all of that down below. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.